Cynical people know the price of everything and the value of nothing, which takes me to the British royal family, who joyless Republicans would happily replace with a clapped-out ex-politician, some kind of presidential figure like Tony Blair. Thanks, but no thanks. And there was no greater demonstration of the colossal soft diplomatic power of our monarchy than the encounter this weekend between President-elect Donald Trump and the next in line to the throne, Prince William, the Prince of Wales. There he was in Paris at the Élysée Palace. Slim, tall and elegant, Prince William did not look remotely out of place, rubbing shoulders with the French President Emmanuel Macron, Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, and the Donald, who I got to say I thought looked rather fetching in his golden tie. William gave the flame-haired US President-elect a huge amount of respect, understanding that he was representing the interests of this country and meeting the soon-to-be leader of our greatest ally. But the respect was mutual. Donald Trump made a fuss of our future king, warmly greeting him, paying him close attention, patting his back and deploying warm body language, worlds apart from the unseemly arm wrestle witnessed between Trump and Emmanuel Macron at the same event. I'll be honest with you, I felt proud watching Prince William representing us on the world stage. Young, dynamic, handsome, stately, rocking a slightly Edwardian beard that makes him look like one of his ancestors. And like his father, the king, and his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, he is the very embodiment of British values, of British history and of British tradition. Many complain that Sir Keir Starmer was not present. Well, I think we dodged a bullet. If you look at these images of the Prince of Wales and Donald Trump having a bilateral, I suspect that William could have a bumper US trade deal signed, sealed and delivered before the weekend is out, unlike our Europhile Prime Minister, who I fear wants to take us back into the bosom of Brussels and the dying, sclerotic EU, which in my view would be a grave mistake. William's efforts over the weekend in Paris were all the more impressive given the year that he's had, with his estranged brother Harry still sending sniper fire over Windsor, with the shock cancer diagnosis of his beloved father Charles, and of course most devastatingly the news that Princess Catherine, who, if Diana was the people's princess, she is the perfect princess, was discovered to be battling the disease too. So for the cost of a handful of pence a day, every British citizen gets a lot of bang for their buck. Because when Charles and Camilla, or when William and Catherine travel overseas, Princess Anne as well, Edward, it's always an event. It's always a story. Our frontline royals are box office. They have global reach, fermented over centuries of diplomacy, war, empire, trade and international affairs. It's therefore thrilling to see the next generation of royals remain as relevant, if not more so than ever. And that special relationship with the United States going forward is of critical importance. And it may just be that Donald Trump's affection for the UK, and in particular his affection for the royal family, he won't shut up about Queen Elizabeth, will heal the growing diplomatic rift between the Trump White House and our governing UK Labour Party. This is a Labour Party whose Foreign Secretary has effectively called Trump a neo-Nazi. This is a Labour Party which naively sent an army of operatives over to the States to campaign for the disastrous, permanently tipsy Kamala Harris, for whom it is always wine o'clock. And by the way, whilst he's not perfect, and I have concerns about his character and temperament, that's Donald Trump, isn't it great to see a US president on the world stage again that is dynamic, that has energy, whose brain actually works, who doesn't wander into a broom cupboard at the end of a speech? And how hilarious that even before he enters office, China is talking about closer cooperation with America, Hamas are talking about a peace deal in Gaza, Israel lay down arms against Hezbollah, and Zelensky backs Donald Trump's timetable for a swift end to the war in Ukraine. What will Donald Trump's critics say when he likely ends multiple conflicts across the globe, when he reboots the US economy, and when he brings to an end hated political correctness and so-called wokery. Like I've said before, despite his many flaws, ultimately, Trump's victory is ours too. Prince William acquitted himself brilliantly on the world stage this weekend. He did us all proud. Just think, one day he will be king too, which can only make you optimistic for the future of this country. And whilst politicians like Starmer come and go, this monarchy is here to stay. You see, form is temporary, but class is permanent. And Prince William has class unlimited. Your reaction, can Prince William save the special relationship? Were you impressed by his performance, his efforts in Paris this weekend? I thought he absolutely blew the doors off. In the House, Head of Communications at Popular Conservatism, Annunciata Rees-Mogg, peer of the realm and former Boris Johnson advisor Lord Coulvier Ranger, and former Labour Party special advisor, none other than Paul Richards. Paul, let me start with you. Top of the evening.
Hello.
That was an impressive bit of diplomacy from a young Prince William, don't you think?
I am, as you know, Mark, a bit of a monarchy sceptic, I would say, and I'm not altogether sure Donald Trump knew who he was meeting, to be absolutely honest. I mean, he shakes so many hands.
He'll
shake a hand.
Exactly who William is.
He says you're doing a great job to everybody he meets. Let's face it. I don't think he knew what was going on particularly, but I don't.
He definitely knows who William is because he's about to deport his brother.
I do feel that. It's a bit alarming when people who are unelected going off to do this job on our behalf. I believe in democracy. We've got people on the streets of Syria now demanding democracy, and we need a bit more of that here too. And I don't think we should send the royals in to do the job that should be done by a politician.
Annunciata.
Keir hasn't wanted to meet Donald Trump, so we can't send in the politician.
He had a very good meeting.
He
has met Donald Trump. They had a very good dinner together.
Not since he's become president-elect.
Well, I think he will.
He didn't go to Notre Dame.
Well, is that true? Do we know whether Starmer decided not to go?
He said he was not planning on seeing him before January, before his inauguration.
Well, not because of some rift between them, though, just because he doesn't want to do it.
To be fair to Keir Starmer, is it unreasonable to expect that he just jumps on a plane because, Trump's in town? That's not really how these bilateral negotiations
He's getting
work.
criticised for being abroad too often as well, isn't he? I mean,
as I understand it, he was invited to the Notre Dame.
Do you know, listen, you're close to Keir Starmer. I mean, do you know whether he spurned an invitation?
I don't know if he spurned it or not, but he has been criticised for being abroad too much, so now he's staying home. People are criticising him for that. He can't win, Paul Black.
Do you think he should have gone, Paul?
What, to Notre Dame?
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's only a cathedral, isn't it? It's not a
Was
major...
it not a missed political and diplomatic opportunity?
No, I don't believe so, no. And, I mean, the fact he's going to wait for Trump to actually be president is not a bad idea, is it?
Now, listen, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Notre Dame's only a cathedral. I don't know what they put in Paul's tea tonight, but Coulvier, I think this guy is a statesman and he does us proud.
I think focusing on Prince William, he has all those things, but we have to put it into context of what a difficult couple of years he's had as well. And, with the Princess of Wales being so unwell, with his father being unwell, and let's be honest, he's a thoroughly modern royal. And what I mean by that is he's really put his family first, his young children.
His head there.
Well, just the idea of a modern royal. It's an ancient idea that you get a job because your dad did it. Well, and I think we should have moved on from that,
we
don't you think?
We have moved on in terms of the figureheads of state. And, they do bring a lot of value and people respect that. And they're thoroughly part of a modern Britain that we talked about.
He looked like Tsar Nicholas. That's what we thought.
Well, that's a really interesting point because he does look a bit like some of his ancestors, but he's
like
acting in a very modern way. He's hands-on. He's dropping the kids to school. He's there.
I mean, for me, it's never, ever been about the personalities and the individuals. I've met Charles. He's a very nice man. Nothing wrong with the individuals. It's not their fault that they're in these situations. It's the institution I'm sceptical about.
William doesn't have a boss who's saying you've got to do this number of engagements, you've got to reach out to that many charities, da-da-da. And yet he still does. So he was hobnobbing last night with world leaders, and today he's helping in a homeless charity giving out Christmas meals. And I think that embodiment
and lots of people are doing that this Christmas. And then lots of people are doing this.
It's what the British are about, but it's what the royals are
briefly, Paul, do you not accept that the royals are box office? That an elected president, perhaps, somebody that was in the cabinet 10 years ago that's become UK president, would get that kind of welcome at the Elysee Palace from the president-elect of the United States?
Well, people go and visit Paris, and that hasn't had a monarchy since the 1700s.
Well, that's where they've gone wrong.